Hey guys, it's Candy. Welcome back to Our Family Nest. So here with another book video for you guys. Today is going to be my August reading wrap up. And I actually am filming the first part of this video like a week into August because I'm really afraid with as many books as I've been reading recently, if I wait until the end of the month to film this video and share all of the books at once, I'm literally going to forget what the books are about. And I really like to kind of be like still emotionally invested in the books that I really love and enjoy and share it with you while I'm still having those feelings and thoughts fresh in my mind rather than waiting to the end of the month. So it actually worked out that a lot of the books that I read in July were part of like little challenges that I did. Like I did reading 7 romance books in 7 days, and then I did reading 5 books out of my comfort zone. And as soon as I got done with those challenges, I actually had read a few other books that I'm going to just sneak in and make them part of my August reading wrap up, just because I haven't shared them in another video and there were some really good ones that I want to be able to share with you. I never technically did like a July reading wrap up, so we're just gonna sneak a few of them in. So the first one is Nora Goes Off Script by Annabelle Monaghan, and I love this book so much. When I was done, I was like, I need more of these two characters. 5 stars all the way. It is a romance book, and it is about a single mom who falls in love with this guy who's a famous actor. So 2 people that you just totally wouldn't necessarily like match together. What I really liked about the book is it just felt so real. You know how some romance books we read, you're like, that would never happen in real life. Like it's just so far-fetched and unbelievable. This book just felt so believable to me. The mom is just so down to earth. Like you read it and you're like, I want to be her friend. And the famous actor, while he's kind of like aloof and hard to read, he just, I mean, I pictured him to be like a younger Brad Pitt, like just so handsome and mysterious. And I think what I liked about it is the romance parts weren't like really cheesy. They were just really fun. And it kind of just made you believe in that kind of like fresh new relationships where you can fall in love and things may not always work out perfectly, but they all happen for a reason. And that's what I took away from reading this book. Totally recommend. And it's also one of those like super easy to read books. Like flows smooth, not complicated, just totally love this book. Okay, this book I'm just going to talk about briefly. I only give it 2 stars. Riley Sager, House Across the Lake. I loved Final Girls by him. It's the only other book that I've read by him. It's obviously a thriller, and I just felt like I just didn't enjoy this book. I felt like the twists and turns, it's like the author made the twists, the very unexpected twists, and there was a twist and then another twist and another twist. They just seem so far-fetched and unbelievable to me. I just couldn't buy into it. It was just too much. I didn't enjoy it. And I feel like if you check the Goodreads reviews on this book, they're very hit or miss. You either love this book or you dislike it quite a bit. Since that one was so disappointing, I wanted to dive right into another thriller. So I read Creep by Jennifer Hillier. She is definitely one of my top 5 thriller authors, if not in the #1 spot right now. I will read anything that she puts out. This book is pretty intense. This is the first book that she wrote. I read Little Secrets, which was my favorite book of 2021 last year. And I've also read Things We Do in the Dark, and I love that book as well. So good. Creep actually has a part 2 called The Freak, and some of the characters from this book continue on in the next story. However, when I got done reading this, it was late at night, and I was like, how am I gonna fall asleep after reading that? Like, it was intense. This book just dives deep into the mind of sick people. People that murder people and do disturbing things to them for reasons that I cannot comprehend. And I thought I had the story all figured out. It kind of just reads like a really kind of straightforward thriller, almost borderline horror book. I did not have it all figured out. So it was really, really good. Next up, by Ellen Hildebrand, we have the Nantucket Hotel. And this book was a little bit of a disappointment for me. I only gave it 3.5 stars. I didn't hate it, but I definitely didn't love it. I just felt like there were so many characters in this book, and I just wasn't like connecting with any of them. I just didn't get hooked on any one of the stories. You know, usually when you read and there's like all these different characters with different things happening, you have like one or two that you're just reading as fast as you can because that one character you want to see what happens. And I just didn't feel sold on any of them. And then there's a ghost in the hotel, and that part, it just wasn't written in the way that it flowed well with the rest of the book. It was like, are you trying to be a scary book? Is this ghost supposed to be funny or scary? It was just a bit confusing to me, and I didn't really get that part at all. Next up, we have The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I read this on my Kindle. I read it in like 2 days. It's so cheesy, but it's so good. It's like one of those stories that if it was made into a movie, you would almost be embarrassed to admit that you're watching it. But I felt like the cheesiness of the story just fit the characters so well. So basically, they've been friends since high school. They both fell for each other. Their lives took them in different directions. He's an NFL football player. She's a ballet instructor, studio owner, fake dating, friends to lovers, and it is closed door, which means that any of the scenes where there's kissing, making out, whatever, it's not descriptive at all. So even though some of their banter is utterly ridiculous, and maybe it's just my age, maybe the younger generation would enjoy this a little bit more, I still loved it, and I still cried at the end. All right, time to review some more books that I've read this month. First up, we have book 2 of the Court of Thorns and Roses book. It is called A Court of Mist and Fury. And my thoughts on this book, I feel like might make some ACOTAR fans not so happy. So book 2 picks up right where book 1 ends. And it's like all of a sudden, Tamlin is like this totally different person. But in a sense, so is Feyre too. And don't get me wrong, I know what they went through in book 1 and the ending and everything under the mountain. I don't know, it's just weird that their personalities seem to change so much. So I felt like the beginning of this book was really, really good. Loved the beginning. The end was literally genius. Loved the end. Really am excited to read book 3 just because of the way this book ends on such a like, what in the world is happening? There's just so much stuff in the middle of this book that I felt was unnecessary. There's so much in here about Rhysand and like his people. Is it called his court? Whatever it's called. And some of that just didn't interest me, which I know I'm not a huge fan of fantasy books, so that's probably why. And then it just annoyed me that like everything that came out of Feyre's mouth was always about what happened under the mountain in book 1. And I know, I get it. It changed who she is, changed her perspective. It's gonna change her forever. I get that. But it was like the dialogue and the thoughts in her head, like we need to move on. There needs to be more character development with her, like moving forward versus her reliving everything that happened in book 1. So I only gave this 3 stars just because I didn't love it at all. Like, I liked it because it got us to the end, and I feel like there's some good stuff to come in the next books. I just have a feeling this is going to be like my least favorite of all of the series, hopefully. Next up, we have the book Addicted to You by Becca Ritchie and Krista Ritchie. I guess they're sisters. So it's part of it's book 1 of the Addicted to You series. And then there's the Calloway sister series that, I don't know, I think there's like 8 or 9 books, maybe more, maybe 10. I thought, okay, I'm gonna give this series a chance. It's pretty popular. A lot of people rave about it, like on TikTok and stuff, but I didn't want to invest in buying all of the books unless I absolutely loved it. So I downloaded book 1 on my Kindle. And in the beginning, I really, really liked it. Like, it was off to a great start. I loved that the books are described as kind of like a Gossip Girl, maybe a little bit of Euphoria. Like, if you read what the book is about, it's, even though the book's been out for a long time, like, they're trying to market it to people who are fans of Gossip Girl and Euphoria. So I was like, okay, right up my alley. Love both of those. And I only get 30% through the book, and I just felt like the story was going nowhere. Like, we set good groundwork for what's happening between these two characters. You have Lily, she's in college. She also has 3 sisters, so you learn a tiny bit about those. But for the most part, Lily's like the main character, and then Lo is her boyfriend. They live together, but they're like fake dating because they're trying to hide their personal vices from their family. Lily is a sex addict and just hooks up with random guys all the time, and Lo is an alcoholic. So it works out for their families, their parents, their sisters, pretty much everyone involved, to pretend that they're living together, kind of like a happily ever after situation. Nobody asks them questions, nobody pries into their personal business, so then they can be off pursuing their bad habits, basically. As time was going on, and this is only 30% into the book, I just couldn't stand how it was this constant, like, Lily has these feelings that she never shares, and Lo's playing these like mental games. Like, I don't know what point he's trying to get at. And it just sounds like a really unhealthy, basically abusive relationship, honestly. I can see where like this could lead to something great. Like, I like the writing. I kind of like the characters. I just don't understand, like, where's the story going? I like a book to be like, let's get going. Throw me a hook. You gotta keep me interested in what I'm reading, not keep going in circles, because eventually I'm jumping ship because I'm bored. And that's basically what I did. Now, I'm not saying I won't ever go back and finish the book. It's on my Kindle. I would like to finish it. And when I shared it on my social media, I had people tell me that book 1 is not the best and book 2 is even worse. But then the rest of the series, even the Calloway sisters books, are amazing. The next book that I chose to read for August was freaking amazing. These are the kind of books that I like. The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. Never heard of this author. I like her. I might be checking out some more of her books, or at least reading her books in the future. This was just right up my alley. Good from the get-go, hooked me. I wanted to know what happened. That's what I like in a book. I gave this one 5 stars. Oh, by the way, I gave the Addicted to You book 2 stars. I at first gave it 1 star, and I felt like that's kind of not fair. Like, I didn't hate it. It just wasn't enough to make me want to finish it. So I'm going to do 2 stars from now. May update again in the future. Anyways, The Bodyguard. 5 stars all the way, hands down. Absolutely loved it. You have Hannah. She's not doing so great. Her mom passed away the day of her mom's funeral. Her boyfriend breaks up with her, and she's getting bad news at work. She's finding out that her next work assignment, which she is a bodyguard, she's like an executive protection agent. So she finds out her next assignment, she has to be the bodyguard for Jack. And Jack is a movie star. Everybody's seen Jack's movies, and they just are in love with him. And it's funny because throughout the book, Hannah's always like referring back to like certain moments, like when Jack will make a face, or he laughs a certain way, or smiles a certain way, or makes a unhappy face. It's like, oh, that reminds me of that scene in that movie. That reminds me of the Jack when he was in this movie and that scene. So she's clearly a fan of his, seen all of his movies. but she has to act super professional being his bodyguard. The oddest situation, she has to act like she's his girlfriend because they don't want Jack's family to know that she's a protection agent. They're going to fool everybody by, let's just pretend that she's his girlfriend to not alarm anybody. And I just love their banter. I love how Hannah's like this kind of ordinary girl, and Jack finds that like entertaining, really, because he's so used to, like, you know, famous actresses, supermodels, whatever. So you just really have these two different people that their lives intertwine, and I just really like that. I think I like that trope of book because it kind of reminds me almost of Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, because it's like you take a doctor and somebody who lives in this like small town carpenter guy and put their lives together, and it's just creates a unique situation. 5 stars, definitely recommend. Okay, so I have 2 more books that I need to share with you that I read in the month of August. And even though there's a few more days left this month, you may have heard in one of my other videos that for the next however long it takes me, a couple weeks, whatever, I'm going to actually be reading the Twilight series. So starting with next Sunday's video is going to be the review of the book Twilight. The following Sunday will be New Moon. I read all the Twilight books a long time ago. Twilight was written, what, back in 2005, 2006, something like that. But I've seen the movie so many times because I'm a huge Twilight fan. I thought it would be a lot of fun to go back and read the books now after I pretty much know the movies by heart, and then kind of just discuss the books. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned for those videos coming up in the next coming weeks. 2 more books that I need to share is In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I liked it. I didn't love it. I struggled there for a little bit to stay interested because there's a lot of different things going on with a lot of the characters. Basically, it goes back and forth between current time and 10 years ago when a group of best friends were in college and one of their friends was murdered. So now here we are at their 10-year college reunion, and they're still dealing with like ghosts from their past and trying to kind of figure out still who murdered this girl. It's a dark and twisted thriller with a lot of really messed up people. I feel like a while back this book had a tons of hype around it. I don't know if it was on TikTok or what. I had it on my shelf to read for the longest time, and I was like, you know what? I still keep seeing this popping up on people's lists here and there. I need to read this one. So I think maybe that's why I rated it 3.5, because I had pretty high expectations. And while it was good for a thriller and like checked all the boxes for a good thriller, just the overall like ending and outcome wasn't really just like, it didn't blow me away. And then the last book that I read for this month is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, and oh my gosh, 5 stars, hands down. If 6 stars existed, I would give it 6. I'm really going to miss these characters. So basically it is about Bree. She just went through a really traumatizing experience. So she kind of escapes away from where she was living and goes to this tiny small town in Maine and rents a cabin and kind of just wants to like reboot her life. She doesn't really have a plan. She doesn't know how long she's staying there or anything. She just knows that she needs a fresh little start. She's got her little dog with her. I'm pretty sure her name's Phoebe. And on her first day in the small town, she meets Archer. And Archer's this guy, no one in the town really kind of knows that much about him. He had something in his past that he went through that was pretty traumatizing and actually has made it where people think like something's maybe wrong with him. He doesn't talk, no one really knows anything about him, he lives all by himself, he doesn't drive. They kind of just think he's a weirdo actually. So Bree, she just feels this kind of instant connection to Archer, and she just really wants to get to know him. And so she kind of goes out of her way to communicate with him. If you read up on the book, it's kind of described as though Bree helps Archer find his voice. hence the title. They go through a lot together, kind of some ups and downs. It's not like a perfect situation, but they help each other kind of find their way and deal with some pretty heavy stuff. Like, this is like a romance, but at the same time, you're dealing with some pretty heavy topics. And I will say the spice in this book, the sex scenes are very, very descriptive. So if that kind of book bothers you, or if you're younger, like, maybe don't read this book. As good as it is, I feel like there's quite a lot of sex scenes in this that may make you feel uncomfortable. Of course, you could skip them, but just a heads up on that. I highly recommend this book. So to wrap up the month, this was definitely a favorite, followed by Nora Goes Off Script, and followed by The Bodyguard. Anyways, that's gonna wrap up this month's books. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next book video or in my vlogs that are posted on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.